Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is find a partner who's at the same place as you are in the binder. If you can't find someone, that's okay, then you can work on your own. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at these questions for adding polynomials. And I want you to think about how you think you might add these two polynomials together. And then I want you to, in the space that's on the sheet, I want you to give it a try. And so right now what I want you to do is pause the video. I want you to try each of these two questions and then restart the video when you think you have an answer. And then we'll talk about how to have done these properly. And if you have any questions as this is happening, please write them down and then talk to me in class and we can go over anything that you were unsure of. So I'd like you to pause the video now and try to add these two. So one way of approaching this question is to set it up like you would like an addition question back when you were in grade 5 or grade 6. And now what you can see is that, oh look, my x's are together and my constants are together. And now really all I need to do is add them. And so you might have gotten an answer like that. And that is the correct answer. This maybe isn't necessarily the approach that you're going to take to doing it, however. So one of the things that you want to recognize is that when you're adding two polynomials together, one thing to think about is that when there's no sign in front of a bracket, it means there's a 1 there. So if I were to rewrite that question, it means that there's a 1 in front of each of these two brackets. And so really what you're doing is almost distributing, except you guys should remember when you multiply by 1, what happens? Well, anything times 1 is itself. So really what ends up happening when you distribute that 1 through is you'll just end up with 3x plus 1, and you'll end up with 4x minus 2. Well now, if you look at the hint, remember how to collect like terms. Really now all you're left with is a collecting like terms question where you say, hey, here are my x's, and here are my constants, and why don't we collect our like terms? So let's put our variables together, and let's put our constants together, and let's see what that will simplify to. And in the end, it simplifies to 7x, and then 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Notice I didn't write plus negative 1. If the answer to that question is positive, I write a plus. If the answer to that question, 1 minus 2 is negative, I just write a minus. Usually in math, we don't write two signs. So let's look at how you did with the second one. So again, if I use the same strategy with the second one, and I think about putting a 1 in front of each of these brackets, really what happens is nothing, because when I multiply by 1, nothing changes. So essentially what I'm doing is just taking away the brackets. If you want to be writing negative 1a squared there, that is totally fine. It's not incorrect to write the 1 in front. Again, now that I've expanded and gotten rid of the brackets, all I need to do is collect like terms. So I can put my a squareds together. I can put my a's together. And I can put my constants together. Remember always to include the sign when you do that. In the end, what happens is I get negative 3a squared minus a squared plus, remember when there's no sign in front, it's a plus 5a minus 7a plus 4 plus 5, and I will end up with negative 4a squared minus 2a plus 9. So have a look and compare what you did. Again, write down any questions that you have, and why don't you pause the video and come over and ask me, and then we can see where you're going wrong or what you don't understand. Now what I would like you to do is to ask yourself how you might answer a subtraction problem. So again, what I want you to do is pause the video, give it a try, work with a partner if you have a partner, see what you guys come up with, and then restart the video and see if you're right. So unlike the adding one, if all you did was get rid of the brackets, you have to be very careful. And probably that's what some of you tried. What you have to be careful about is that you're taking this 3x minus 6 and you're subtracting not just the negative x, but you're subtracting the negative x plus 2. And that whole thing is an expression. If all you did was remove the brackets, Well, then what happens is you'll be subtracting this one. This will become positive, but this will remain as adding 2. But in fact, what you're doing is you are subtracting this 2. So if you were to just set it up like we did with that adding problem previously, and you just thought, oh, I'm just going to subtract this. 3x minus negative x is 4x, and negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. But be careful, it's not negative 6 plus 2, it's negative 6 minus positive 2. And that will actually, oh, shoot, there. That will actually give you negative 8. Now, again, this is probably not the most efficient way of looking at it. So what other way do we look at it? Well, we use that idea with putting the 1 in front. So this time, when I write down the question, I want to think about these imaginary 1s going in front of the bracket. Oops, I tried to make that red. Let's try again. When I multiply the first bracket by this 1, nothing changes because it's positive 1. But this is no longer positive 1, it's negative 1. And negative 1 times negative 1x is positive 1x, or positive x. And then this is where the mistake happens. It's not just multiplying that, it's also multiplying that. And so that becomes negative 2. That's where a lot of people go wrong. Then you can collect your like terms, or you can just sort of use your colors or symbols to identify your like terms. Oops, that one's supposed to be green. And it does not want to be green. Let's try one more time. There. So you can use your symbols, and now when you collect your like terms, 3x plus x is 4x, and negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. So again, if we were to look at this one, we're going to put our imaginary 1s in front. First bracket doesn't change because we're just multiplying by positive 1. But the second bracket, we're multiplying everything by negative 1. So what actually happens is every term in that bracket, the sign will change. So this was positive, it will become negative. This one was negative 7a, it will become positive. And this one was positive, it will become negative. So each of those terms, the sign changes. Then again, you can collect your like terms, and there's lots of ways of doing it. You can use the symbols and the colors, or you can just go ahead and collect like terms. If you're feeling like you're getting pretty confident with that, you can skip right to the simplified answer. But I do caution you, the step of collecting like terms is a good one. But if you wanted to go straight from this line here to this line here, you would be allowed to. And so let's check, did you get that answer right? Again, if you got them wrong and you're not understanding what it was that you were doing wrong, write down your questions, pause the video, come and talk to me, and we'll see if we can figure out. At this point, now I want you to try this last problem, which is a combination of adding and subtracting. So again, I want you to find your partner, or if you're working by yourself, that's fine. And I want you to discuss how you think you might answer this. I want you to give it a try. I want you to pause the video and then restart it when you have an answer and see if you're right. Okay, so if you picked up some things from the investigation at the beginning, you probably tried to think about using these 1s in front of each of these brackets. And you noticed the first bracket, because it was a positive 1, really nothing changed. It was like you were just getting rid of the brackets. But the second one, both of those signs changed. So the 4 became negative 4, and the negative 3 became positive 3. Be careful. Both signs change, not just the first one. The second one, because it's a positive 1, nothing changes. It's like you're just removing the brackets. But the fourth one, the fourth one, it's a negative 1. And so this sign will change to positive x, or positive 1x, and the last one will change to negative 4. Again, at this point, if you wanted to go straight to the answer, you could. So, if you want to use the method of circling and things like that and going straight to the answer. So I'll show you an example of how that works. I'm going to identify all my x's. And again, I include the sign. And then I'm going to identify all my constants. And I include the sign. And if you wanted to go straight to the final answer, you can. So 3x minus 4x is negative x, negative 3x is negative 4x, plus 1 is negative 3x. 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 minus 4 is 0. And so that would be my final answer. If you want, however, to have that extra step, please do so. I find sometimes, even though it is an extra step of writing, you're more likely to get it right if you do that extra step. Again, if you have any questions, write them down, come and talk to me. At this point, if you think you understand, you can go on to the adding and subtracting polynomials worksheet. If you think you need a little bit more work with this, please watch the video that summarizes how to add and subtract polynomials and then go on to the worksheet. And again, you can always ask me for help if you need it.